Hello, this is Roberto and this is the HVAC is my channel. Today we're going to be talking about zone creation. Alright, so let's get into it. So in the previous video, we were showing how to create two systems. Okay, so this concept is very interesting because sometimes it creates a confusion between zones and systems. Okay, so as long as systems and zones are very well defined and we know what we're doing, that's the best thing. Okay, so I usually call it systems, so that way I don't get confused by zones. For example, sometimes they say, oh, how many zones do you have in your house? So they say, oh, I'm gonna have two zones. That refers to first floor is gonna be one zone and second floor is gonna be a second zone. However, they are referring to systems. How many units are you going to have? System number 1 on the first floor and then system number 2 on the second floor. As you can see, yellow for system number 2 and green for system number 1. However, the reason I call it systems and depends on the preference of each designer. Is because I don't want to get confused by zones and systems. Okay, for example, the first floor, I'm gonna leave it as it is, system number 1, which is indoor unit, outdoor unit. It's done, right? For the second floor, for example, if they say, let's see on the orientation of the sun. So the sun, this is north, this is the true north. So usually on the north side, we're going to have shadow, right? So the north side is going to have some shadows, but the south is going to have more the sun. So the sun path is more on the south, okay? So technically on the south, we're going to have more cooling load than on the north side, okay? So in that case, let's say in a case scenario, I'm gonna make these 4 rooms a different zone than these other 4 rooms. So these rooms are gonna be on the north side and these rooms are gonna be on the south side, okay? All right, so that way, this is gonna be a good example. Okay, so in order to do that, within my system number 2, because this is the second floor, and this is system number 2 and everything is consistent, I made sure that there's no glitches because when I click on closet number 2, it selects closet number 2 and I still testing, right? If I change it to 2333, it changes it to 2333, right? But I'm gonna take it back, I'm gonna leave it as it is, closet 2. So everything is good. Now on system number 2, I'm gonna create zones. So in order to do that, I'm going to click in here in the multizone tree. In the multizone tree, I have add zone. So I click on add zone. It says room must be selected. Thank you very much. That's a good warning. Okay, so this room will be part of my zone 2. So add zone, I selected my room, my room, and then add zone, and then what's the name of the zone? I'm gonna call it zone 1. And you can call it however you want, ZN1 or zone south, zone north, whichever you want to call it. Okay, so there you go, we have zone number 1, and then like the same way I was creating the systems, I need to drag the rooms that I wanted to be part for zone 1. So I'm gonna drag laundry. There you go. Laundry is gonna be part of zone 1. And then closet number 2, part of zone 1. And then before I get confused, as by default it says zone 1 and in here it is zone 1. So I'm gonna change the name of this before I get confused. So rename and I'm gonna call it zone 2. See? Okay, perfect. So again, bath UL3, I'm gonna drag it here, and then master bed, I'm gonna drag it there. There we go. So we have all these spaces into one zone. by saying one zone means I'm going to have my system right here. See, this is only one system. And I'm going to allocate dampers. So that's why this icon as zone 1 shows a damper that opens and closes. And usually this has a controller in the or outside of the system, which is going to automatically tell me which zones will be working, which dampers do I need to have it on or off, right? Okay, so now see, this is a damper and blower system and damper. Okay, now we're gonna go to system number 2 to check. See, system number zone 2, zone 2, zone 2, zone 2 and zone 2. Okay, so now that you have that, what we do is we go here, double check on the zone information. So under here, if you click on system number 2, you already have your settings in here, right? So central ventilation, outside air, and then we have our hash rate 62.2 2013 all checked. I already have my CFM, and then in here we're gonna allocate in here number of bedrooms. So in number of bedrooms I have in here one, right? One master bed. So I'm gonna click here, number 1. So just for consistency, zone number 2 we have 1. So I'm gonna put in here number 1. There we go. Okay, so now we have everything in here all consistent, and then it has a master bedroom. There we go. Okay, so now for system number 2, again 1.6, but since this is now 2 zones, maybe I would go for a 2-tone possibly, but depends on the designer and the contractor again. Now for zone number 1, it gives me an overall idea on the tonnage. See, for zone number 1 it says it's gonna be about 0.8 ton, and then for zone number 2 it's gonna be about 0.7 ton. Okay, so those are the situations in here. And now of course, when you see at the report, at the final report, this is going to add a lot of pages. Now, when do they do that actually for the system number 1, system number 2, zone 1, zone 2? Usually this happens when you have big houses like mansions. I've seen this in houses that are very big, which makes sense actually, because when you have so many rooms, so many locations, different applications, it's better to have more air distribution and more designated air distribution actually. For that's when it's better to have system 1, system 2, or sometimes they try to do in a 3 or basement, first floor and second floor houses. They tend to do on the basement, they would put one system right in here. See, on the basement, for example, they would put one system, and then on the first floor and the second floor they would have all the ductwork, but they would do zones in there. So they would have one system, 2 zones. So depends on the application, but that's how zoning works. And just be aware that you are increasing the number of pages, because let's just double check on the report, print preview. Let's see how many pages do we have. So depending on the type of the report, if you're doing a manual D, let's preview this. There might be a lot of pages in here. Let's see, just in case, because zone 1, see, now you're doing entire house, system 1, system 2, zone 1, zone 2, okay. And then it's generating my preview for my final report. So it is like 3, 6, 9, 10, see, 10, 40, 44 pages of report, depending on what report do you require. So in here, let's just double glance at it a little bit. So you, in your report, you're gonna have entire house, see, system number 1. This is the tab report in here. I'm just gonna close this tab report, which is the CFMs. Okay, so now system number 2, tab report in here. Now it tells you about zone number 1. See, zone 1, zone 2, you have the reports in there. Entire house construction, system number 2, okay, system number 1, system number 2, zone 1, zone 2. See, it gives you a more detailed description about zone 1, zone 2, system 1, system 2. And it gets a little bit more complicated, right, as you can see. So entire house, system number 1, your construction worksheet, and then system number 2, your construction worksheet, and then zone number 1, zone number 2. So that's pretty much the description it gives you. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to leave a comment and then subscribe and share. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. HVAC is in my channel.